Ladies and gentlemen, I just finished watching The Walking Dead Dead City Season 2, Episode 1, titled Power is Power, and I'm going to have to apologize in advance. I'm in a different place right now to film, so I had to get this out quick, but I just watched the episode, and I definitely have some thoughts. I'm going to be as honest as I can with you. I didn't think this episode was anything like super crazy, super special. I found there was a lot of cringe in it, to be completely honest, but I do kind of like the story that they are setting up this season with the Croats group and New Babylon coming in and the almost like war that's going to happen between these two groups. So I'm really excited to see where that goes. So if that's any TLDR to how I feel, there you go. So this episode starts off, we see obviously them back in New York City picking up dead zombies and all of that stuff to make the methane, to make the city's lights turn on, which I think is a really cool premise. The idea of bringing back power to Manhattan through this use of methane is pretty interesting, and it's something that, like, when you think about an apocalypse, the idea of a group of people in Manhattan or just any city alone trying to restore it by at least finding a way to get the power back up and running is a really cool apocalyptic story to tell. It's just, I kind of feel like when it comes to Dead City, especially so far, my feelings for this episode, it comes across as more of like a fan fiction. It doesn't really come across as something that feels realistic, and it also comes down to like the whole supervillain outfits that these people wear. Like, if you think about an apocalypse, I don't know where and how they're manufacturing all of these like weird ass outfits, and I think it comes back to, like, if you're looking at other groups, they were explaining how, like, Manhattan is broken down into factions. There's, like, the Upper East Side's faction. There's, like, other different factions throughout the different boroughs of New York City, and they're all run by different people, and some of them are, like, barbarians. But the barbarians are dressed like literal barbarians. Like, where the fuck are they getting outfits like this? It didn't make any sense. So, I don't know. So that's essentially what we're introduced to. We see them back, and then we see, like, all of them doing their things, like, trying to build up the methane, blah, blah, blah. Then we see New Babylon come around and go to the bricks and essentially explain to Maggie that they're going to go in and take the resources, the methane, from the Croat and his group, and that's, like, the whole premise they're trying to build up in this season. New Babylon's community and those people, like the marshal who's now the colonel, and like all of them are going to go in and try to extract all the methane and like fight and defeat the Croat because it's being used for like bad barbarians and stuff like that because they're lawless, and New Babylon is filled with law and all of the goody goods. So it's, I don't know. Like, it's interesting. We got set up, like, right after the very intro, we got set up to seeing Maggie again with Herschel. And I think probably one of the highlights of this episode is the little moments of dialogue you have between Maggie and Herschel directly. It's the closest I think the show gets to feeling like that original Walking Dead feel that is based in, like, reality and stuff like that. But then the rest of it just felt very, like, a mix of Fear the Walking Dead and like fan fiction-y fantasy shit that I'm just not a fan of. It's not as much about like the story they're setting overall. It's just about the way like they're showing it, I guess. I don't know how to word that, but yeah. So we see Maggie and Herschel like rekindling, and they talk about a story about a firefly when they were in, I think it was like North Carolina or Charleston or something like that. I don't even know when in history that was. But anyway, so we get that. Then essentially the group comes in, the New Babylon like crazy crew. They explain their theory about why they're going to bring back Manhattan, and then those shots from the trailer where you see Lauren Cohen going like, "You're going to bring back Manhattan." It's not to Negan, it's to the new colonel, the marshal. So that's interesting, and it's an interesting play and a good thing to set up. So after we get all that stuff, we get a cut to Negan, who is in a cell, who explains that he's been in there for a long time because he's not willing to give up the kid, and he's not willing to become like the Negan, essentially, again, like the original like bad guy Negan for them. Like, he's not going to do that. But then by the end of the episode, he like does that, but he does it because he's under threat, because Annie, like, they know where Annie is and all of that stuff. It's just, honestly, like, all of the conveniences to get to the point where Negan becomes, like, badass Negan again felt just very, like, forced, and it was just like they were trying to play it fan service. in a way that I don't really respect in shows. Not that it was bad, it came across like really cringy. I'm sorry, it just came across really it fits to me in the same category of like some of the later stuff of Daryl Dix in season 2, and then some of Fear the Walking Dead, where it just feels not like a zombie show like grounded in reality, which was the pitch for The Walking Dead that made it so successful, and more just like, okay, we know you guys love these characters, let's put them in bombastic situations. And that even goes to show, like, there was moments I really liked about Negan's speech in the church at the end of the episode, like him going in there and essentially having one of those classic Negan monologues where he gets Lucille back and he does the whole thing. But it just came across like, I guess the way I'm trying to word it is I felt like I was reading in between the lines that it wasn't about whatever the story was. It was literally just like the writers were like, we know fans like it when Negan does these things. Like, how can we bring back a lineup? How can we bring back Lucille and blah, blah, blah. And it was done in a way that just made, I just thought it was cheesy. Honestly, I just thought it was cheesy. And again, I think two things can exist at the same time. I think a show can be cheesy in a lot of elements and also have some elements that are interesting and worth exploring. I do genuinely like the idea of, like I already mentioned, all the different boroughs who are run by all different factions of people in Manhattan are trying to unify, or now it seems by force, because Negan's trying to lay down like the dominant hand. And that whole storyline of them just coming together throughout the city is really unique and something that I think can have some potential. So I'm not going to write this off and say like this was just a bad episode and it's indicative of the whole season or anything like that. I just think the way they set up some of these things are really cringe, and it also comes down to like how they do some of the things they've done, like the costume design of like the barbarians who aren't really the barbarians. I don't even know what the hell they're called, and just like even like the Croats group, how they're in like these black suits that are just like, where the fuck did you get that? Like, yeah, New York is big and you can loot a lot of it, but like, where are you getting a ton of supervillain suits? Like, what the fuck? I don't know. It's just like little details like that where I'm like, okay, like where did Negan get his literal like leather jacket again and all of that stuff and just pop right in? And also like, how did they make the bat that was electric, like that gave the shock that literally like knocked out the guy for a long time? Like, that was interesting and that was weird. I don't know. I thought it was cringe. I don't know how to word it. Not a bad start as far as setting up a story. Like I already said, it's definitely not a bad start to setting up the story. There was just a lot of elements that I raised a lot of eyebrows for. So I think time will tell. Should be interesting. I'll be trying to review every episode by episode. I know with The Last of Us, I didn't review episode 3, and I may just stop reviewing The Last of Us and just save it for a series review. I don't know. Let me know your thoughts on that, by the way. I know we just jumped to that, but let me know your thoughts in the comments. I'm not like, after episode 2 and the big thing, I don't really care to talk about it that much unless there's like something big that happens or just the end of the series. But I can say for certainty that Dead City I'll be covering the whole season of, so definitely stay tuned for that no matter what. That's, you know, Walking Dead's like a staple here. Obviously, I'm going to review stuff like that. But, yeah, we'll see where it goes. It's always great to see Jeffrey Dean Morgan on screen. It's always great to see Lauren Cohan on screen again. And as much as I want it to be like with our regular crew and get some cohesive tissue there, this story seems like it's going to be pretty interesting, at least, if anything, to explore Manhattan. So yeah, let me know your thoughts on the episode down in the comments, and with all that out of the way, thank you again so much for watching this video, and until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Peace out.